Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha. And we're going to have some fun tonight. We are going to learn about remote viewing. And this, of course, Broadcast Team Alpha is the show for the thinking person out there that is not afraid to ask and step outside of the box and look around and see what else is there out there that is being covered up or kept from me. And we're trying as much as we can to disclose some of that. Well, anyway, my name is Aage and I'm the host tonight. My co host, Nori, she is not able to be with us because she is busy doing her life doula work. She's helping people, and that has priority over anything. So I wish her total success out there, what she's doing tonight, and then she'll be with us next week. And of course, also, we have another show. It's called the Paranormal World Show on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock East Coast time and 5 o'clock here in the West Coast. And we are covering some of the really goofy and paranormal stuff that a lot of people like to know about. So come and join us there too. And I want to give a shout out to the people at the Conscious Awakening Network because we are transmitting there also, as well as on 44 other platforms around the world. You should go and visit the people over at the Conscious Awakening Network because they got close to 50 shows over there that cover just about everything that we want to know about, and that is the consciousawakeningnetwork.org. Go have a look. I think you're going to enjoy it over there too. And if you're watching on YouTube, that's the place to be because that's the only one of the 44 platforms that we monitor the chat room and we comment on it. And also, you're able to participate. You can talk with other people on the chat room and have a blast while you're listening in. So, anyway, and one more thing, just really quick, that I want to mention that Nori and I created a spiritual think tank. And if you want to be involved in something that is much bigger than ourselves, come and join us over at the Mastermind Connection, because we create things out of seemingly nothing sometimes. We do incredible things there. And I think you should come and have a look and see what is going on because you're going to like it. I want to introduce my guest here because some of you know him, and probably there's got about two or maybe three out there that don't know him yet. So I want to say a couple of things. And there's we have Tom Dongo with us. He is returning to Broadcasting Alpha. I think he's been with us maybe around 3 or 4 times, 5 times maybe now. And Tom is recognized as one of the well, Americans' leading experts on the paranormal, the UFO, the ET issue, and remote viewing, which is his specialty. And that's what he really likes to do. And he teaches remote viewing, and that's what we're going to talk mostly about tonight. He's a speaker on many national and international conferences. Tom Dongo is also an author of 8 or 9 books now. I don't know, maybe even more. I forgot to ask him. And then he's been interviewed on over 3 dozen national, international TV shows and over 40 international talk shows, including a lot of the things that you probably already know about. And I want him to talk a little bit about his books too, because they open up a new world to you. You're really gonna, in order to find all the books, go to Amazon, put his name in there, and the books will show up. And then you go and click on the little function that give you the outline of what's in the books, because there is stuff there that we need to know about. And with that, Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is the fifth time I've been on the show, so it's a pleasure.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Um,
I keep
well,
track.
I'll tell you, it won't be the last one. You'll be back
No.
because I really enjoy doing shows with you. And because there is meat in it, there is so much substance in it. And you go into the corners of the world where there is maybe hidden strange things that we need to know about. But for tonight, let's start talking a little bit about remote viewing because that is your passion. Talk about maybe what it is, how it works, where it started, and what you do, and how people actually can learn how to do this for themselves because it's fairly simple. I didn't say easy because there's a little bit of practice
No.
involved, but let's hear from you on this.
Well, I'm my next birthday, I'll be 80 years old. So I've been doing this stuff for a long time now.
Right.
Yeah, and so I've been doing remote viewing. I was born with a remote viewing ability, so I can teach it.
Yeah.
And a psychologist friend of mine, Dr. Tom O'Donnell,
Mhm.
studied me. He wanted to find out how good I was. So I lived in Sedona, Arizona, and he lived in Durango, Colorado, way up on a beautiful bluff. And so we spent about 6 months testing me to see what I could do. And it was sure was fun for me. I'll tell you that. I found out what I could do. And his dog, uh, one of those little 10-pound fuzzy deals, the dog could see me.
Yeah.
I would go from Sedona to Durango, and the dog could see me. I mean, I felt like a ghost being in a house, and the dog would follow would follow me around. And
Wow.
one day I got right down in front of his face, and I said, "Well, you little blank blank, you can actually see me, can't you?" And he's going like that. So I guess dogs and cats, they follow things around the room, and probably most of the time ghosts, but there's a lot of people out there like the government that's doing remote viewing and other things. So you never know who's checking up on us, who's spying on us, or whatever they do, and they spy on each other. So you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
but there is more than one way to do this. Now you go there, but
yeah,
then there's another method where you just sit down and a blank piece of paper and you kind of let the mind go away and then you get impressions. But
yeah, that's the government method,
yeah,
the coordinates. Yeah, I kind of do that, but I do it. I understand that. I've studied the government method because I taught remote viewing with Maureen St. Germain, and we were good at it. She would do the government version, and I would do she called what she called the Tom Dongo version, and we sure had fun. But I've gotten so busy, and she's gotten so busy. We just don't we don't do any more classes. But we had some phenomenal successes, and yeah, so we I really enjoyed it because
yeah,
I love teaching people how to do it because if people knew what I can see, everybody would try harder. I mean, not make it a lifetime a venture,
yeah,
but because you know I have another sense. I can see things, and I
yeah.
can actually, I've studied Russell Targ and Ingo Swann, and they started the whole thing way back. And so the stuff that Ingo Swann looked at was a challenge for me to kind of follow because I wanted to improve myself, and but my way is a little bit different because Tom O'Donnell, Dr. Tom, prove that I see, and I studied other remote viewers, and I do it a little bit different because I was born with it. I was probably a seer in Tibet or something like that. I think that's
Uh-huh.
how that. I really enjoy it, and I wish I've been on broadcasts when there have been millions of listeners, and I would spend half half the show. I give it away free. I don't charge $4,000, $5,000. I've charged a little bit of money here and there with Maureen and I, but I give it away. I tell
Yeah.
people how to do it, how I do it, and it works beautifully for me. So if I can do it, why can't somebody else? But and it's not the what I my ability is not like the government's. I don't use coordinates like a number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 J
Yeah.
is the Egyptian pyramids, which I have been in. Maureen, she challenged me one time, go into the pyramids and see what you see and then tell me. And I said, well, I'm in the king's chamber and it stinks. And she said, boy, you
Yeah.
nailed that. You know why? Because people pee in there all the time, so, and I could smell it. You can be remote viewing, you can smell things, cooking
Yeah.
smells, body odors.
Yeah.
And I've done it many times. So,
Mm. Where
yeah,
did this where did this all start? Was it the CIA that started it out with Ingo Swann and Russell Targ, or are there things before that maybe that also was brought to the attention of the CIA, which they projected forward?
well, there's I taught remote viewing for a while early on, and I quit doing it because I found out that the wives wanted to spy on the husbands and the husbands wanted to spy on the wives. And I said, if you people are doing that, then I quit. I'm not going to teach it if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
So you need, and if you use remote viewing for something negative, it will
Mm.
come back on you.
Yeah.
So I so I you have to use it for a positive because the positive result, the things you see are far more interesting than the negative. Well, see, I've worked on 3 murders. I basically solved all 3 of them. I will never work on another
Hmm.
murder because I have to relive it.
Yeah.
And the last one I did, I said, "This is it. I will never do another one." A pot-bellied yard worker, maintenance worker in the East, uh, killed a little blonde girl, 9-year-old, pretty little blonde girl. He kidnapped her and he killed her. And I knew what I could feel, what she felt, what she thought, and he was enjoying himself. He hung her. So
Yeah.
anyway, I won't go any further than that because I a great psychic I have a high regard for said that I was a warlock in a past life way back, and I still have the abilities. So the guy was getting ready to kill another little girl, and I kind of took
Yeah.
care of him a little bit, and a voice said to me, do not kill him." I said, "Yeah, no, I know, I guess, but I doubt that he'll be hurting any more little girls
Mm.
because I had
Yeah.
brought up these abilities that just suddenly came there, and I used them. It took me 5 seconds to track him down where he
Mm.
lived in the East. So anyway, that's I do not do murders anymore. I just
Yeah.
don't.
So,
Yeah,
but then their uh, every ability can be used for both good and not so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I'm thinking that what you were teaching people probably could help them more in a good way that would outweigh some of the negative things that was done. Do you not think so?
Well, that the classes that Maureen and I had, they were all very positive people.
Hmm.
There was no negativity involved. They both we had 2 big classes, and there was not one negative thing coming from our
Yeah.
pupils at
Yeah.
all. So we enjoyed it, and some of them were fantastic successes. I mean, rivaled some of the things that I can do. So
Hmm.
it's and my theory is the 100th monkey thing. If you teach some people to get good at it, they're going to teach others. And
Yeah.
I would like to give this away to 1 million people. I wish 1 million people could see what I see. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And then tell them to look into what's going on in Washington and then make that
uh,
public. Wouldn't that
yeah,
be
yeah,
interesting?
yeah, yeah. Well, you have to be careful with that because they do have guards. They have people that they're psychics or whatnot that are what they watch for remote viewers
Yeah.
coming to check up on them. So you have to be careful with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's true.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
a quick. I'll tell you one of my stories. You know me. You know me. I got a million stories.
Yeah.
I,
Go ahead.
I was at the Sedona airport one time, and this was about 20 years ago. And suddenly, I had a feeling that I was being watched. So I looked around. I scanned with my psychic radar, and there's a cord that will, if you're thinking of somebody, there will be a cord that will go from them to you. So I found this cord, so I tracked it all the way into Europe, I figure probably Bulgaria or somewhere like that. So I came into this room and I'm looking down on these two people, a man and a woman, all dressed in black. They were hunched down, and suddenly both their heads popped up and they turned around and they started smiling because they knew I was there. I tracked them down. So
Hmm.
we kind of looked at each other for a while, and then I just left because I didn't, I said, why were they watching me? But they were. So I found them. So that's one of the things that you can play with remote viewing.
What do you think they were doing?
Uh, well, I'll tell you another story. When I was early on, when I was, whoops, I got the lights coming through my window. Hold on a second. I'm going to close the blinds.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, so uh, I don't know if where was I at? When you get to be
That
my age, you forget.
that was that other story that you. Let's do that story and then talk a little bit about the mechanics of the viewing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so SciTech. I have a friend. He's 83 years old now, but he was a. Oh, well, I got a couple of stories I got to tell you. But he was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and he was one of he was trained by Ingo Swann. So
Uh,
he and I get together and we sure have fun because he drops any pretense when he's around me. When he's with other people, he doesn't talk about it. He's very
mhm.
cautious about it. But when we're having coffee in a coffee shop, he would totally tell me the things that he would never talk about. So anyway, uh, he and I would explore things. And when he was with SciTech. SciTech, the first
Yeah.
government remote viewers, they split off into a group that basically spied on corporations. I said, oh boy,
Yeah.
they spied on corporations. That was their business. That's bad, bad, bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, his name is Ron, and I said, SciTech was spying on me. He was. I got to be a little careful what I talk about, but I got a letter from him one day, and he was a very high ranking person in the aviation industry, very high. And he knew Ben Rich, Lockheed Martin. And Ben
Oh.
Rich was incredible. Ben Rich is the one that said, whatever you know or think you know, we're 2,000 years ahead of that.
Yeah.
So it is true. Uh, so anyway, uh, we go back. So anyway, I got a letter from him one day, and I had it in my pocket just in case. So I said, Ron, why were you guys spying on me? I mean, I was just some unknown schmuck in Sedona, Arizona. They had one book, and I talked about the Bradshaw Ranch a lot, so it kind of started there. But I said, why were you guys checking me out? The whole team of SciTech remote viewers, the government remote viewers, the best of the best. And he said, well, we weren't. And I said, Ron, I took the letter out. This is the letter you sent me way back then, and it's signed by you. And he said, I don't remember that. And he was honest, but they were, So I don't know what's going on there. He said we weren't, but they were. And I had the letter he had sent me with his letter, the letterhead, and the whole deal, the lieutenant colonel, So so I come prepared. I was in the Boy Scouts, so. So anyway, the whole thing we were talking earlier, and the whole thing started when the Americans and the Americans and the Russians were spying on each other using remote viewing. And a guy asked me one day, I said, he's in the chat room, and he said, what about remote influencing? And I thought, I never thought about that. Remote influencing, influencing somebody else, and you can do that. It can be done. So, at any rate, so to make a long story short, the Americans were spying on the Russians, and the Russians were having heart attacks, and the Americans were having brain tumors. They were using it for a negative thing, and some of them were dying. I read a book that I think it was Lynn Buchanan. The book I read, he had done a lot of research. It's a big, thick book. Anyway, so that's what started, this whole thing, and so I've been associated with some of the government's best remote viewers, and so I know how they think and their operational stuff that they do. So it's been quite a trip for me.
Wow. Yeah, the Russians are really good at this though.
Yeah,
I think they've been doing it longer than the Americans have. Because I read some, even back in Europe or 50 years ago, I read a book that they talk about the psychic research in Russia.
yeah, yeah. Well, there is a difference because I use both. I have phenomenal psychic abilities and
Yeah.
phenomenal remote viewing abilities. So occasionally I combine them. I think you saw that post that I put on Facebook where I talked about some of the things I've done with psychic abilities. Like for instance, I was hired to work on the Jacob Wetterling kidnap case in Minnesota, and it was a famous kidnapping. They say it was as famous as the Lindbergh kidnapping in Minnesota, and there were over 100
Oh.
and there were over 100 FBI agents working on it at the same time. I was there for 2 weeks. And so I use psychic abilities plus my remote viewing ability to do some study there. And an FBI agent told me when it was all over, they found him. I had the wrong state. So anyway, that she said that you got further than some of the best psychics in the world to solving the case. Because we
Wow.
sat this woman, she was very nice. She was a woman FBI agent. We sat drinking iced tea in my backyard, and we talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something that everybody can do if they pay
Yes,
the price, and the
yes,
price is practice.
yes, exactly,
Now, let's
exactly.
talk a little bit about what would people do in order to practice to get to learn something like this.
Well, I'm separating remote viewing now from psychic stuff. I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute to see what I could do, and that's kind of what I learned how to psychic stuff. So anyway, what I do, like for instance, what Dr. Tom O'Donnell and I did, uh,
Mhm.
we would start a session. I would go to his house, and I would appear about over his driveway and on his second story window, his office, and I'd go through the window and then down the stairs, and we'd start the session. So what I'm saying is everybody can do the same things, and don't doubt it. People think, oh, it's my imagination, but don't. I tell people, no, it probably isn't your imagination. Just go with it and see where it goes. Because I've had so many people give up saying, oh, I can't do that. I'm imagination. It's a you
Yeah.
know the parents drummed it out of them. Oh, you're a little kid. Your imagination is taking care of taking going away with you. So I would tell them, because this is how it works for me, and it's not how the government remote viewers are trained. Like the government remote viewers are, like you said, they sit there with a piece of paper and coordinates and then draw images, which okay, that's fine, that's good. you can do it that way too. But I like I use this example all the time. If you live in New York and you grew up in Kansas on a ranch, and your people are still there, go from send your imagination to Kansas, to the farm, and just look around. I mean, I've done this many times with great accuracy. Look around and see, well, geez, is there a new, you have a red tractor in the yard now, or you have a new lawn or something like that. And if you can validate, if you can trust somebody, call them and say, hey, Dad, you have a new red tractor out in the field. And they might say, well, yeah, but how do you know that? You're in New York. So that's what I'm talking about. But people
Mm.
say, oh, I'm not doing that. It's my imagination. But maybe you're not. Maybe you're. I had one woman. She's, oh, I'm not a remote viewer. She was an incredible remote viewer. I said, no, you look what you're doing. You're already a remote viewer. You're there. She's, oh no, I'm not. I know I'm not. And she doubted her ability. And I said, well, you're 100%. And she'd say, she argued with me. I said, look, what you just told me, you proved to me that you're a fantastic remote viewer. So what I try to do is convince people that, like the New York, Kansas thing, just do that. Go somewhere, maybe Eiffel Tower, doesn't matter. And imagine when you get there to the Eiffel Tower, look around. What do you see? Draw it if you want to. It's okay. But take it for granted that you're really there, and then go from there with it, because that's how remote viewing works.
Yeah.
And I've
Yes.
talked to some. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I'm wondering, sometimes you could end up going on an astral journey, or
Yeah, yeah.
a mind-directed journey, and you may not even know the difference.
No, exactly. Well, well, you know, I've been at this for a long time, and
Yeah.
I whatever I talk about, I can prove it.
Mhm.
If somebody proves me wrong, and hardly anybody ever has, I said, if
Mhm.
you prove me wrong, that's the end of it right there. I have friends who will bicker and squabble about that for 6 months. You know, well, I could give. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to give some examples, but so
When
uh,
you see somebody starting out from scratch, don't know much about it, and they want to practice on how to learn this, where do you suggest, or what do you suggest they should do to start out? Should they start out with visualization like you do, or should they just start with a flat blank piece of paper and do it that way? What do you suggest?
well, there's probably 2 dozen books out on remote viewing, and some of them I read one that was about 2 inches thick, 2 inches thick a long time ago, just to see what you know know more about it. But there's so many. I would get a book and read it, and then you got a basic start. I would do that. Read about remote viewing, and how it works from somebody else, because there are different methods of teaching it. Uh,
Mhm.
but I go with mine. Mine is so easy. I stick with mine, and I've
Yeah.
done the coordinate thing, and I've been better than average with
Mhm.
coordinates. But I
Yeah.
don't care for that. I don't care for that. It's a clumsy, cumbersome way to remote view, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I had a friend here in Tucson that oh, this has got to be 18 years ago,
Mm.
when I was living down on the prairie. And we had a class at the house. He came out and he taught it. And he taught blank piece of paper. And we got the coordinates, actually numbers and stuff. And
Yeah.
we sat there. I didn't feel like I got much out of that, because maybe it was my distraction because it was my house and a bunch of people and stuff. But I think the simpler way, now when you explain it, I think that doing it your way maybe get you further ahead.
Well, one of the things that people do, they try to figure it out. They try to intellectualize it. They try to, figure out what they see. And
Yeah.
I tell people, don't go with your first impression. I
Mhm.
mean, if you have a serious attitude, go with your first impression because it will be right almost every time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter who it is.
Hmm.
And some people have such a skepticism. They're really fighting an uphill battle because there are things you and I both know. There's so many things that are really basically simple because I think the human race had abilities thousands of years ago that were phenomenal. We've just forgotten most of them,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah,
there.
yeah, because our parents and our friends and
Yeah,
our
yeah,
society and the
yeah,
government tell us that
yeah,
can't be done. There's nothing to it. Don't
yeah,
worry. Don't even waste your time.
yeah,
So our paradigm has accepted that,
yeah.
and that will get in our way doing anything. So we got to step out of the box and start listening to the people that is doing it and reading the books and associating with the people that are doing it, watch their videos. That's where you learn the good stuff.
Hmm. Well, there's the whole I call it the mall attitude. People grew up in shopping malls. There's just
Yeah.
yeah, there's stuff that I mean, I grew up the hard way in Maine right from the beginning. I mean, we had. I mean, I did. I grew up the hardest way. So I didn't do. We never did things easy. Yeah, so if you get the belief is strong. I mean,
Well,
if you understand it, and don't listen, you know, people uh, measure themselves too low. Oh, I can't do that, but yes, you can.
yeah.
And then once you get started, I mean, like I said before, if people could see what I see, I have a completely different sense, and I can. Uh, I've gone a lot of places I shouldn't have gone, there's really I
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. I know you do.
for for
It's just
example,
yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like astro travel. You go play in the beginning, you're so curious you can't handle yourself. So you end up going places you shouldn't be. And sometimes you get away with it, and sometimes you get
yeah.
scared out of there and you just hurry on home.
Well, I have been in instances where I was warned you're going the wrong way, you're going to get in trouble. So then I would leave. There's something out there that watches us, I don't know what it is, But
Yeah.
you were talking earlier about why can't remote viewers see into the future? I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there's something that doesn't want us to see certain things.
Hmm.
Well, I'll tell you a story that I've told it about 1,000 times, but I was just on Coast to Coast not too long ago, and I talked about this. And basically, I got in an argument with uh, Connie Willis. Me and Connie are the best of friends now, the absolute best of friends. But she said, Connie, we had a bit of an argument on Coast to Coast, and so a guy wrote me. He said, he said, I've been listening from Art Bell all the way through, and your show is one of the best of all of them. The whole thing, because I argued with Connie. I said, no, Connie, I'm going to talk about this. I'm just going to do it because it's that important. And she said, okay. So we have become the best of friends now, Connie Willis and me. So anyway, I said, Connie, I'm a notable remote viewer, and I'm damn good at it. So I was, the missing 411, David Paulides. That's been a curiosity for me. Where have all these people gone? So there's thousands of people in national parks that have disappeared. Poof, they're gone.
Yeah.
So in one case, uh, this isn't exactly the same, but David Paulides researched this one, and there's a deer hunter, and they knew exactly where he disappeared, his name, and the whole deal. So I had stuff to go on. So uh, and I talked about this on Coast to Coast. And and so she I said I followed him. He had a track. I mean, if we, a remote viewer, you can understand that. They
Yeah.
leave a track. There's something you can trace. So I was following him, you remember General Stubblebine? I
Yes.
was I was in an audience in Denver a long time ago. Somebody paid for it for me because I couldn't afford it. But the best remote viewers in the world were in the audience, about 800 people in the audience, and the things they couldn't do, but I can do it. I wanted to raise my hand and say, yeah, I can do it, but I didn't, of course. But one of the things that the early on remote viewers, there's a wall that you come up against, and you can't go any further. It's something puts a wall there. It stops you. You can't go any further. But I learned how to get around that wall. So anyway, I'm following this deer hunter where he disappeared, and I come up against one of these walls, and a voice said to me, "This is as far as you go." So I said, I'm looking at the wall, and I knew how to get around it, and the voice said, "Don't even try it." So what was it? What was it behind that wall that whoever that was didn't want me to see? Yeah, it's probably something that we're all involved in, all of us. And so I'm thinking, what's behind that wall that they didn't want me to see? There's something on this planet that nobody understands. I don't know what it is, but I've been I've been up against it.
What
It's
kind of wall was that?
well, it actually looks like a wall, just a energy that it stops you.
Okay.
Uh, and I was going, and a listener in one of the shows I was on said, and I thought, well, this is a very good question. He said, did you go up or or are you going down? And I thought, it's always going up very fast.
Hmm.
So, and then, somebody slams on your brakes,
Hmm.
just stomps on the brakes and you stop. And
Did you
yeah, go
did
ahead,
you
buddy.
s- did you see what happened to that guy that you followed then? Did he
No,
disappear? Did you?
no, he went behind the wall.
He went behind the wall. Okay.
Well, he was
So
one of the
he
ones that, yeah, he disappeared and it was never found.
hmm.
Yeah,
Ha. Behind the wall.
yeah. So what, I talk about this stuff, so what, and so anyway, so what was I right? If anybody, I've said this many times, if you prove me wrong, I'm wrong. That's it. So, I've some of the best remote viewers on this planet have heard me talk and they don't
Mhm.
dispute me. None of them do.
Yeah.
So, so am I right or am I wrong? Was that my imagination, or was it real? And if it was
Yeah.
real, what was it behind that wall that this whoever it was didn't want us to see? What?
Okay.
You know, like what's his name back in 1920 when he was the first remote paranormal researcher. Uh, Gosh, I can't think of his name now, but he quit researching in 1920. All of his research was just newspapers and magazines. But he said he was famous. He said we are somebody's herd of cattle, and I agree.
Yeah.
On some level, we are. You know, yeah. It's just a big mystery, and I wish I was
Yeah.
50 years younger.
I see in the chat room that Kevin Cummings says that it could be like a force field, probably.
Yeah, that's what
Could
it
it?
was.
Yeah. So if there's something here that these people come up against that could be interdimensional in nature, then, well, there are bears out there, there's Bigfoot out there. We don't
Yeah,
really know, but the force field, that that's a new one to me, and that could be something that is there. Somebody that is running the computer program that we are
yes.
think we are living has put there for us not to see.
Matrix. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
so
it gets deep, and I see that we're past the bottom of the hour here. For those of you that joined us late, we're talking with Tom Dongo, and we get stories, and we're talking about remote viewing, and we're getting a little bit off into the weeds, but I want to get back a little more to what do people, how do they start out? Now, when you said that your method of going somewhere in your mind could give you better results than sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper with the directions, that makes sense to me.
Well, I can go anywhere. When Ingo Swann, some of the stuff I just read Ingo Swann's book, and so I some of the things he talked about, I went there. It's easy for me, and it's a real adventure. And some of the things he talked about are stretch my knowledge and imagination to the limit. But anyway, what I said about the New York, Kansas pharma thing is the way to do it. It works. And go there and keep doing it. And pretty soon, I've said this. I probably talked about this for 20 or 30 million people over the years. One day you will go to that ranch in Kansas, and you'll realize you're there. You'll look around, and you're actually there. Because your body is in New York, but your psyche has gone there, and it's well, maybe like astral traveling a little bit, but you're actually there. You pinch yourself, and I'm actually here in Kansas. I'm not in New York, and that's how it works. Because they practice, they keep doing it, and you can do it driving down the freeway somewhere. I mean, if you do. You can be listening to the radio, and you can do it in your mind. You can do this stuff in your mind. It's just you're training your mind to do it. It's that easy.
Nori and I interviewed Russell Targ a couple of times, and he said that he went. He ran him and Ingo, they ran the program for CIA, and he said that there were one time he went somewhere that was, I shouldn't necessarily say all that much about it, but he went somewhere, and that was in a foreign government room. And he said he got into the room, and he said they knew I was there. They could see me, so he got out of there. What do you see? What do you think those people in the room? They're physical beings like you and me right now, but they still could see him. What do you think made them being able to see him?
Well, they develop their ability. It's that simple. The government has remote viewers that if they feel threatened, the remote viewers go to see who it is that's doing the threatening, the thought or whatever. And they have some that I was told that I don't even, it kind of scares me a little bit. They have others that even higher and better than that can be not that I fear it at all, because I don't. I'll tell you another story. Anyway, so let me tell this story. So I got
one more story.
You know me. Somebody on a show. I told you somebody on a show called me a paranormal rock star. I get a kick. Anyway, oh gosh,
that's the compliment.
What the heck was I talking about? My brain.
You had just one more story. I feel like they are protected somehow, and I know that is true because I'm going to tell you a story afterwards.
Yeah. Well, anyway, dang it, I forgot his name, but I was standing right next to him. He was the government's top remote viewer at the time. I was at a conference, and he just happened to be. I was standing right next to him in a circle, and I thought there's been times I thought I was insane. I really thought I was insane because of some of the things I was doing. So. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name. But anyway, so he was talking. I was doing this. I was going out into space and visiting alien spacecraft. It's easy for me.
Yeah.
And you see because there's thousands of them out there. They're either in trade routes or
Yep.
they're in orbit around the Earth. Some of them are a million miles out, but they're in orbit. And so I would go after an alien spacecraft, and I'd go close to it, and if I felt threatened, like don't come any closer, I would leave immediately. Some of them felt friendly. They say, "Yeah, come on, come on board. Let's." And so I would do that, and every time I would go through the ship. I'm cruising around the ship, and they'd all look up, and they said, in their minds they think, "Oh, another damn human." I'd be so I would go all around the ship and look at things, and it's being remote viewing. It's not. It's kind of opaque. It's not. It can be because I've done it. You can can't focusing a camera. You can focus on something, but so I would just cruise around the ship and and most of them had some kind of lighting. There was no light bulbs, but they always smelled good, and there were no sharp edges on these alien spacecraft.
Yeah. Mm.
So anyway, oh gosh, anyway, friend, he said, well, I went on to one that they threatened me to stay away, and he didn't. He went on to it, and I thought, you dummy, how can a guy like you be so stupid? That's what I was thinking. So he went in and they grabbed him. They put him in a box, like a glass box, and wouldn't let him go. And yeah, so anyway, it terrified him. And so finally they let him go, but they threatened him, don't do this again. And that they
Mm.
have that ability, and they can do a lot more than that if they
Yeah.
want to. So,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
see in the chat room here, Jean Le Girard asked, what book was it that Ingo Swann had written that you read?
there's actually only one. I've got it behind me in a pile of books, but it's
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
yeah
it's probably on Amazon, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Put
bought
put
it. Yeah,
Go to Amazon, put Ingo Swann in there, and then it'll come up.
yeah. I think it's called prevention or something like that. It's just one
Okay.
word.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but it's very
And
good. It's very good.
yeah, and I know that they have a way to see you because an astro
Yeah.
traveler, I tried to get into the White House sometime,
Oh,
and they somebody saw me coming. I was
yeah,
probably within maybe I don't know, just distance is a little tough when you're coming from above, but
yeah,
it I was probably maybe around 100 feet away, and I saw these two persons coming out, and they did like this.
yeah.
That meant don't even come.
No,
And I was just curious. I wasn't coming to spy on them, but they protected the place
yeah,
and they came together. So they chased me away. So, yeah, they have their own. I imagine the Pentagon, they
yeah,
have the same people guarding the
yeah,
place as well as the White House and other government
yeah,
facilities.
yeah.
I'm sure they got secrets, they don't want us to know about, so they're guarding it.
Well, there are things that I've penetrated that I probably went. I've been when I was younger. I was known as reckless. I was commonly called reckless. Some of the things I did because I didn't care. I mean, I really didn't. So people ask me, why are you doing this stuff? Because I want to know what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I want to know what the hell is going on, and I'm going to try to find out. So I go for it, and I've been, like I say, I hunt them on their turf. I do. And when I was younger, I'm too old now, but when I was younger, I would hunt them on their turf. I'd go on their turf,
Yeah.
and there's something out there that, this Satan and devil stuff. There is no Satan, there is no devil. That's a creation of mankind, religion to,
Religion. Yeah.
yeah, scare people. But there is an awful evil out there because I've remote viewed it, and it is awful. I call it an awful evil. I've been face to face with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. I call it an awful evil. Yeah. So other than that, I didn't push it any further than that. I said, okay, I've seen it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's things you can do and get away with, but
Yeah.
beyond that, you can have, I don't know, remember when you're out there, there's no physical body that can get hurt, but you
Yeah.
can come back with mental scars.
Yeah.
and that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, they can, I'm aware of it, so I don't push it too hard. They can do things to us
Yeah,
because a lot of them think we're just flat out stupid. So they kind of lenient, with some of the things we do.
yeah,
So if I'm close to some of these beings, okay, fine, I'm out of here. Bye. Uh,
yeah,
so I don't know. But that's one of the great things about having my abilities. I can tell other people,
yeah,
and I said, if I'm wrong, anybody, tell me. You can prove me wrong. It's done. You're
yeah.
right. I'm wrong. So, and I do this. I talk about this stuff. This you're the 91th show I've been on in 8 years, and I've
Mm,
spoken now to about 80 million people. Coast to coast
yeah.
has been about 30 million. So anyway, I do it. I talk about stuff I wouldn't have dared to talk about 5 or 10 years ago because I want to help people. I want to do maybe stuff that other people don't have the courage to do. I've done it, and I'll do it. I got to back off a little bit because I'm getting too old. My next birthday I'm going to be 80 years old. That's I just don't have the speed that I used to have.
Yeah, but you just mentioned something, helping people. You have another ability, and that is to
Yeah,
see inside of people. Let's say
yeah,
somebody have an illness, or not
yeah,
necessarily illness, but a physical defect. Let's say they got a bad liver. He's a lush,
yeah,
so he's got a
yeah,
bad liver, but they don't know what it is. You can find out what it is. I know that because you done it to a friend of mine, and you were spot on.
yeah. Well, I don't. I tried to make money doing this, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I could probably be a millionaire like some of these people are. I've done it on hundreds of people. I used to, I'd be having coffee in a restaurant and people would come up and say, "Can you scan me?" I always did. I didn't make fun of them, turn them away. I always did, and because I can do that. I did that with two famous film producers about 3 weeks ago, and they said, "Well, can you take a look at us?" And I said, so I looked at one guy and I said, "You're all right," but the other guy said, he's 52 years old. And I said, "You have circulation problems that's developing. And if you don't get some exercise and drink more water, you're going to be in trouble in about 10 years."
Yeah.
So anyway, I've done this, and I've had three doctors that have challenged me, medical doctors.
Mhm.
So this one guy, I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. I really do. I mean, like I say, if somebody proves me wrong, that's the end of it. But anyway, so I was at a healing conference, and he was a medical doctor from New York. He was the head of a huge rehabilitation clinic, drug addicts, alcoholics. So he said, "Well, scan me." And usually I have to have somebody stand up in front of me, but he was sitting down. So I said, "All right, I'll give it a shot at it." He actually wrote a note. I keep it with me. He said how, and he signed it. He said how accurate I was. And I scanned him, and he says, "Well," he stood up, and he said, "Well, you got it all right except for one thing." And I said, "What?" And he said, "My back." And I realized he was very overweight, obese, and I realized I couldn't see through him. So I said, "Well,
Mm.
turn around." And I've done this twice. I had a guy want me. He was a doctor in Palo Alto, wanted me to come and see his patients first. I know a friend of mine that does that. He's more successful than a medical doctor. So anyway, he turned around, and I put my finger right on the spot and described it was about the fifth vertebrae up. And I said, "Well, you got nerve damage, you got blood vessel damage right here," and I described it. So he wrote me out a note and signed it, that how accurate I was,
Mm.
so I can prove it. Say I ain't no beginner, So, but anyway, I've done that to hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And
And
I do bartering once in a while. If it's something pretty serious, I do barter with them. You got something I can have with a trade, you know.
yeah, this is what Edgar Casey did.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he did thousands of them also,
Well,
and he
Edgar Case,
was.
yeah, he was in contact with a being, some kind of a being,
Yeah,
because I can do the same thing. You know, so, but he would go into a trance, and the being would speak through him. So
yeah,
basically, it was the being that was doing the healing, which was phenomenal.
yeah. He was
But
pretty good
Casey,
at that.
yeah, he paid the price for it. He was a heavy smoker, and his health failed.
Yeah, he was.
Casey, yeah,
He
yeah,
did too much of it. It wore him
yeah,
out.
wore him out. Yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah. And I see now we got 5 minutes left, and I want you to talk a little bit about your books because you got a lot of education in
yeah.
those books. Talk about talk about your books a little bit and where to get a hold of you.
Well, one's out of print for. We're reprinting my books right now, all of them except one. One, Unseen Worlds, is going out of print. So, but this one, it's merging merging
Merging.
dimensions. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a bestseller for me. So merging dimensions. It's on Amazon. Merging dimensions, and it's a everybody loves it. Endless compliments about it. Merging dimensions. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's my bestseller. So everybody buy that. But that's the one I make some pretty decent money on. So that
Yeah.
everybody buy a copy of Merging Dimensions.
Yeah, that's on Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon is my only distributor now.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah,
Yeah. If somebody want to get a hold of you, how would they go about that?
they can't. I've got 17,000 emails that I'm in the process of deleting.
Hey,
17,000, and there have been days when I've had 50 emails, and I can't keep up with it.
oh
So
man.
if somebody on when I put a thing on Facebook, that's they want to. But I get all the time. I get people, and some of it is so ridiculous. I will not
Yeah.
bother with it. Especially people that want me to find their lost dogs, their lost cats, or who's my husband running around with, who's my wife running around with. I won't touch it with a
Yeah.
1,000-foot pole. Yeah.
Well,
So
I see you got one tonight. Rhonda Gerard says she just bought the Merging Dimensions. So
yeah,
you have one book
yeah.
ahead tonight.
Yeah, well, it's a very popular book, so
Yeah,
it's my pride and joy. So I'm really happy with it, and it's been a big great success. I'm not getting rich, but it's better.
yeah,
I'm on Social Security, so it's a bonus.
yeah. There you go. There you
Yeah,
go. And I remember I met you one time. I think it's probably about 3 years ago now in Sedona. Remember that
yeah,
when we had
yeah,
that thing way out in the
yeah.
bushes?
Under the
And
tent,
I
yeah, under the tent, the big tent. Yeah,
Yes, and I bought one book. I don't think it was that one, and I got it on the shelf somewhere. I haven't seen it for a few years, but there was another one I got from you, and I think it had to do with UFOs and your experiences.
that probably would be Mysterious Sedona.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Mysterious Sedona. Yeah, we're reprinting that right now. I bought the last 10 copies of my own book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, this is the last 10, but well, I need them because I don't have any. So I bought the
Yeah.
last 10 of my own books.
There you go. Yeah. I have a favorite question that I like
Yeah,
to ask the guests, and I'm going to ask you the same one.
yeah,
And I didn't tell you beforehand because I want you were talking about the first impression. That's
yeah.
what I want to hear from you. And that is if you could talk to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them?
Well, I get asked that a lot, and I really, oh, yeah, yeah, I don't know. The world needs more critical thinkers. I mean, there are people that are so passive, they just go along with the crowd. The world needs more critical thinkers, real thinkers. It's just, don't listen to other people, the people that are ruining society right now. Be your own critical thinker,
Yeah.
and go with that. I think that's a key thing right now.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
put your foot out of the box because there's nothing good for you in the box.
No, no, no. there's too many people that are doing damage to the world right now. We got it. We have it all around us. So be a
It,
critical thinker. Do your own thinking. Be a creative thinker.
yeah.
Your own thinker.
Yeah, they don't make critical thinkers anymore in the education system. They
No.
want them, just like George Carlin said, they want you to be just as smart
Yeah.
so you can do the paperwork and do the
Yeah. Yeah.
work,
Right.
but don't ask any questions.
Yeah. They don't want a lot of troublemakers sitting around
Yeah,
a coffee table talking about what the government's doing to
yeah.
them.
Well, anyway, I sure enjoyed having you with us again, and we got to do this again sometime. So,
Yeah. We always have fun, don't we, Augie?
yeah, we do.
Oh,
Gosh,
yeah.
yeah, I miss I miss Nori in this show
Yeah.
because she's got some
Yeah.
good questions, and she would have enjoyed herself too. But she's helping people tonight, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, say hi to her when you see her.
We
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are my favorite people. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, then we will first of all, thank you for being with us again. And for those of you out there, watch for us again next week because we're going to come with another good show for you. So until then, be good to each other.
Namaste.
Yeah. Namaste.